This is an installation video for the Revision vending machine door for an AP7000 machine. Tools needed: Phillips head screwdriver, adjustable wrench, power drill, 1/8 inch drill bit, 5 32nd inch Allen key, 11 32nd and 1/4 inch socket, penetrating oil, and a level. Included in the kit: new machine door, hinge plates, cash box, hinge shim plate, plastic hold-down clips, self-tapping screws, flathead Allen screws, drop sensor kit, wire ties, and programming manuals. Turn off the power to the machine and unplug it. The first task in this installation is to remove the factory door currently connected to the vending machine. You will need to first disconnect the top hinge. If the machine you are working with has screws that are difficult to remove, then spray the area with penetrating oil to help loosen the bolts. Remove the 2 screws using a 5 32nd inch Allen key. While you do this step, make sure you have someone supporting the weight of the door as you work. If the screws will not budge using the Allen key, then the screws can be drilled out. Just be careful not to ruin the holes in the hinge because you will use them later. Disconnect the bottom hinge. There are 2 types of hinges. If your door has the lift-off style hinge, simply lift up and remove the door. Remove the hinge from the bottom of the door by removing the 2 screws using a 5 32nd inch Allen key. Make sure to also remove the washer from the hinge. Replace it when you reinstall the door hinge so the door will operate properly. If your door has a bottom hinge similar to the top hinge, you will need to remove the 2 screws from the bottom of the hinge as shown in this demonstration. Adjust your wrench to the door stop and use the 5 32nd inch Allen key on the screw directly underneath. When the upper bolt is loose enough, finish unscrewing and removing the attachment by hand. If necessary, drill the screw out. Loosen the screws attaching the door stop to the inside of the machine. Push the door stop fully back so it won't scratch the new door. Finish completely unscrewing the hinge from the old door. Disconnect the 110-volt power cable that powers the fluorescent light. Neatly coil up the wire and feed it through the hole near the power switch. It is no longer needed. With help from an assistant, lift and remove the old door. Next, remove the old bucket off of the old door. There are 2 screws on the top of the bucket and 2 screws on the bottom of the bucket. Use either a Phillips or an electric screwdriver to remove the 4 screws. You may now discard or recycle the door as it is no longer needed. Remove the control unit. Disconnect the main harness from the control board and CoinMech power board. You will also need to use a Phillips screwdriver to detach the harness completely from the control unit. Free the harness from the clip holding it to the unit. Remove the control assembly by removing 4 screws holding the lock hardware inside of the cabinet. Completely remove the control unit from the machine. It may be discarded as it is no longer needed. You may or may not choose to remove the cash box assembly. Leaving it attached will not affect the overall performance of the machine. To detach the cash box, find and unscrew the 4 Phillips screws from the inside of the box. Leveling the machine. After all the old components are removed from the machine, you will want to make sure it is level before attaching the new door. Complete this step now so that if the machine is moved to a different location, the door will not need readjusting. Only the machine will need to be leveled again. You will need to make sure that both the front and side of the machine is level. Level the machine by adjusting each of the feet on the legs of the machine using an Allen crescent wrench. Installing the new door. With the help of an assistant, lift up the new door and position it over the bottom hinge. If your machine has the 2-part hinge, install it to the bottom of the new door. Use the bolt plate provided to mount the screws and hinge piece. If you don't have the 2-part hinge, you have to install the screws holding the door on the machine. Connect the door stop arm before adjusting the door. Back the screw out, closest to the machine cabinet on the bottom plate. Do not take it out all of the way. Attach the doorstop arm to this slot as shown. Note, do not make the screws tight until the door is on the machine and adjusted. Once the screw is tight, reduce the tightness by 1 full turn of the Allen key. Hold the door so that the holes in the top line up with the top hinge holes. Insert the hinge block off plate between the hinge and the door. Make sure it is in the correct position. Hold and secure the bolt plate on the inside top of the door and line up the provided holes on all 3 plates. Insert and tighten the screws using a 5/32 inch Allen key. Do not make the screws tight until the door is on the machine and adjusted. Once the screw is tight, reduce the tightness by 1 full turn of the hex key. If installing the bucket alone, position the bucket in front of the door. Go around to the other side of the door and lift the bucket up through the bucket slot. Make sure the bucket lip hangs securely on the door opening before letting go of it. You will need to drill through the 4 holes on the bucket to secure the bucket to the door. There are 2 up top and 2 below. Take the 4 self-tapping screws provided in the kit and screw each one into the recently drilled holes. Installing the drop sensor. First, take the gray stop sensor wire and slide it behind the bucket in the available gap. Install the drop sensor over the screw on the outside of the bucket as shown. Use an adjustable wrench to tighten the drop sensor to the bucket. Plug the gray wire into the drop sensor. Install the drop sensor cover and screw the nuts on to secure it into place. Tighten the nuts. Remove the film off the back of the reflector and apply it to the inside of the bucket, opposite to drop sensor in the top front of the bucket. Secure the gray drop sensor wire so that it is permanently out of the way. In this demonstration, the excess wire is rolled up and placed in the opening behind the drop bucket. Pull the black cable through the hole in the back of the machine. Remove the male connectors from each of the white plugs as shown. Then, push the entire connection through the hole next to the power switch and bring it around the power supply. Replace the male connector. Make sure the connector is attached correctly by confirming that the gap in the pegs matches up with the gap in the wire side. Do the same on the smaller connector. On each connector, place a wire tie where the keys are and secure the connectors together to ensure they won't come apart. Then, coil up the black wire, tie it with a wire tie and secure it into the back of the machine. With the door fully open, use the plastic hold clip and other self-tapping screw to secure the loose gray wire to the side of the machine. Secure it to one of the factory screws as shown to prevent the wire from interfering with the door opening. Adjustment. This system allows for adjusting the door in and out as well as left and right for the proper alignment. Make sure before starting that all 4 door bolts are loose, 1.5 turns from tight. But if they are too loose, the door will not shut. Place 3 magnets on the left side equally spaced, which is the side with the hinges. These magnets are used as temporary spacers. Carefully close your door and adjust the inside by applying force if the door is pushing against the magnets. Lift the door and line up the lock bar to be able to close the door. Lock the door closed. When closing the door, do not force or slam it. This may cause damage to the door frame or lock bar. Have an assistant push the door on the left side, hinge side, against the magnets. Tighten the inner door bolt on the top and bottom hinges. Very carefully, open the door to access the second screws on the top and bottom, and tighten the outer door bolt on the top and bottom of the door. For the bottom bolt, tighten the screw and door stop arm as shown. Make sure not to over-tighten the screws. Remove the magnets and check the alignment. If the door is not closing properly, the door switch may not be making correct contact with the metal frame. You may need to move the inner panel that holds the switch. To do this, loosen the 6 screws that hold the inner panel in place. The inner panel is held in at the center of the holes, but is able to be shifted to the left or right. Shift the inner panel to the left to correct this situation. If the door switch is not the issue, repeat the alignment section. Plug in the machine and turn it on. You can now attach the magnet to the bucket to complete the drop sensor installation. Remove the backing from the magnet and swing the bucket door open. Place the magnet near the top right corner of the bucket. You should see a green light display when the magnet is properly aligned. Power up the machine and program the board with the provided instructions. Test all motors for proper operations. As you can see, the revision door dramatically improves the overall look and performance of your vending machine.